Welcome to the Prophecy Club Important program today. The title is The Petroyuan Eats the Petrodollar. We've been talking about this. We've known this is coming since 2010 when Shane Warren told us about it, when he had a vision. Well, here it is. Now, the reason we ask you to subscribe $9.90 a month or more is because we're trying to take out the dips in our paying our bills. It seems like when I ask for help, I get it, but if I don't ask for help, I don't get it. So what we'd like you to do is join Prophecy Club, $9.90 a month or more on an automatic giving basis. That way, I'd love to be able to come on here, never have to say anything about, hey, we're in a jam. So this is the reason. And unfortunately, yes, we're in another jam. And this will hopefully take out some of the bottoms. All right, let's go on. Now, this is important to remember. We're looking for the first headline, Omar ushers in Palestinian state. We do not know that it happens this year. And sometimes I think, it's probably not going to happen. Not this year. And then right now, it looks more likely. But we're going to talk about today. Now, the counting of the Omar is the 49 days between first fruits and Pentecost. Now, there's some question, Pentecost. It's a question whether the Pentecost is on the 13th or the 16th, so let's watch it for some time in that area. And we're looking for the headline, Omar ushers in Palestinian state. We don't know for certain if it comes in 2024, neither do we know that it comes at Jerusalem Post, but we're watching. All right, this is the reason. Israel will give the Palestinians a state. We just don't know if it is this year. Now, this is the real important point today. Chris Reed was given 10 newspaper headlines. The first one is, U.S. dollar drops 30% in value. The subtitle is, look carefully, this is what we're talking about. Middle Eastern oil strikes deal with China instead of the U.S. We may, and probably will, see this headline before the end of June, possibly even next week. Why do I say that? Well, on Sunday, 6/9 of 2024, it has been confirmed the 70-year-old treaty between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia expires. The one that says Saudis will no longer be required to sell their oil for U.S. dollars. What does that mean? It means that the U.S. dollars will no longer be the reserve currency of the world. It means that many of the nations no longer need to have piles and piles of dollars on hand to buy their oil. What does that mean? Well, Saudi Arabia is not renewing the 50-year-old petro agreement with the U.S. It expires June 9, that's Sunday. And okay, I'm making this Thursday, so this is probably going to be the Monday program. So maybe by the time you watch this, it's already happened. The petrodollar was established in 1974. 3 years after the U.S. abandoned the gold standard under the petrodollar agreement, Saudi Arabia agreed to sell oil exclusively in U.S. dollars in exchange for U.S. military, security, and economic development assistance, which they have now switched to Russia, and now they're switching to the Chinese yuan. Well, with this coming up, I know it's very important that you have food. So I called Joseph Kitchen a couple of days ago. Took them a couple of days to figure out exactly what they could do. And I said, look, is there any way we can make some kind of a special big summer blowout to get people food? And it took them a couple of days to calculate it up, but here's what they come up with. So most of the places, when you order wheat berries, they come in a paper bag. And they only last for about a year. And bugs eat it or mice eats it or something. But Joseph Kitchen, as far as I know, is about the only one out there that does this. They send it out in big plastic, like 6-gallon pails, about 50 pounds per pail, and it is nitrogen packed. Now, what does that mean? It means that they run a copper line down to the bottom, about 1,000 pounds pressure, and they blow out the oxygen and replace it with nitrogen. What does that do? Well, hopefully the plan is it's going to kill any bugs in there. And the plan is it'll have at least long storage, perhaps even 25 years, who knows. So here's what I've asked them to do. I said, you got to have a really good deal. So they put together a deal: buy one pail and get a second pail free on red wheat till, while supplies last. Let me say it again. Buy one pail, get a second pail free. Now, one pail, according to my calculations, feeds one person for, as I recall, I think it was about a year. It might be 6 months. It's been a while since I've done this, but I think it's like a year. One person, 1 year. That doesn't sound right. Maybe 6 months. I don't know, but long time. While supplies last, red wheat, go to josephskitchen.com. There's an S in there. josephskitchen.com. One pail, get a second pail free right now. And you're about to need it, sad to say. So, petrodollar replaced by the Petroyuan. You recall, July 10, 2012, Shane Warren came and spoke to Prophecy Club about a vision he had back in 2010. And he said he saw a financial storm coming to America, and right here, the thing that caused it is when they start buying or selling oil in another currency. That happens Sunday, June the 9th. And he said he saw silver, not gold, but silver, drastically increasing in value. And for that, we'll send you to 800-200 gold, 800-200 gold, or prophecyclubgold.com. Now, here's further proof. Petrodollar dusk. In other words, it's the end of the petrodollar. Petroyuan dawn. What investors need to know. This is from Forbes. Okay, so there's no question. This is happening. During a 3-day state visit, Chinese President Xi Jinping held friendly talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in a show of unity as both countries increasingly seek to position themselves as leaders of what they call a new multipolar world order. What does that mean? Multipolar is another way of saying world government. Multipolar, in other words, the top half of the universe or the planet and the bottom half. That's what they're saying. World government. One that challenges U.S.-centric alliances and agreements. What's that saying? It's saying we're going to replace the U.S. as the leader of the world, and that's because we have turned away from our God and we started sinning. In case you're wondering, petrodollars are not a real currency. They're simply dollars being placed into trade oil. Early in the 1970s, the U.S. government provided economic aid to Saudi Arabia, its chief oil-producing rival, in exchange for assurances that Riyadh would price its crude oil exports exclusively in the U.S. dollar. We've talked about this. In 1975, other members of the OPEC also agreed. This had the immediate effect of strengthening the U.S. dollar, since countries around the world now had to buy dollars, keep them on hand in order to buy oil. But that stops Sunday, June the 9th. Are you listening? Now, Stan, what do you think is going to happen? Well, first of all, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not an expert in all these finances. I'm a prophecy guy. So based upon the prophecies, here's my guess. I think that there's a very, very good possibility that this next week, we could see the dollar devalue by 30%, just like, 3 or 4 of the prophecies say is going to happen. We could see it where you roll up to, just like Jason Meek said, roll up to get money out of the ATM, and all of a sudden it switches. It may be this week, or maybe by the end of June, or maybe in a few months, hopefully more like a couple of years, but it's probably a month or so. All of a sudden we'll go to our bank, and let's say we had $1,000 in it. Now you have $700. They just devalue the currency overnight, automatically, with the click of a mouse. Now that's a guess, but that fits with the prophecies. So what do you do about it? Again, I can't give financial advice, but I can tell you, if my mom were to call, I would say, Mom, do you have piles of money in paper? Paper being like money markets or IRAs or 401ks or in the bank. Okay, that's all paper, okay? If you have money in paper, I suggest you call 1-800-200-GOLD. These guys specialize in helping you to get your paper into precious metals. Now we know that right here it says, I saw silver, not gold. skyrocket. So you can figure out what you want to do there. Now, the problem is gold, a handful of gold will probably buy your freedom to another country. A handful of silver might buy you food for a week. Okay, so it takes a lot more weight in silver. Let's keep going, though. Dawn of the Petroyuan. Putin couldn't have been more explicit. During Xi Jinping's visit, he named the Chinese yuan as his favored currency to conduct trade in. What happened? The dollar just died. Ever since Western sanctions were levied on the Eastern European country by Biden for its invasion of Ukraine early last year, Russia is increasingly dependent on its southern neighbor to buy the oil other countries won't touch. In just the first 2 months of 2023, China's imports from Russia totaled $9.3 billion, exceeding the full year 2022 imports in dollar terms. Okay, did you catch that? In other words, China and Russia really are going through the roof in terms of profits. And what is America doing? Well, we're having trouble paying our bills. We're having trouble buying bread. I remember when I was a kid, my mom sent me to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread. And I remember the price. It was 37 cents. Today, $16, one place. Now let's talk about war. War is part of the prophecy. NATO says a cyber attack now is grounds for Article 5 collective self-defense. A false flag of their own country is blamed on Russia, then joined the Ukraine war against Russia. Now, what's it saying? It's saying that NATO considers a cyber attack that they can't prove came from Russia, but they're saying it came from Russia, and they're now saying that NATO has been attacked. Now, what's Article 5? Well, Article 5 is the agreement made right after World War II that says if any of the other NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, if any of those nations in that pact are attacked, all of the other nations come to the aid of that nation. Of course, now they've added several more nations. As you recall, Trump told them, look, if you're not paying up your whatever it was supposed to be, 10% of your GPA or whatever anyway, then we're not going to protect you. So Trump caused NATO to get stronger just here in the last few years. Anyway, the head of NATO's military committee, Admiral, goes on to say NATO can now declare war over a cyber attack. So what does that say? Well, NATO is saying, Russia, you attacked us. And Russia is saying, NATO, you attacked us. So we have two guys that are the bullies, and they're saying, we're going to meet out behind the school after school tonight, and we're going to fight. As soon as school's out, I'm going to meet you in the back of the school. So we have two of the big bullies about to go to fight. We've agreed in NATO that a cyber attack can, in principle, be a reason to invoke Article 5. In my lifetime, I've never heard such talk. This is war talk. This is what starts wars. 800, 200 gold. Better. Look, you need to have some bread, but you need to have some gold. I.e. silver, too. As a matter of fact, I think in my case, I have more silver than I have gold. So now, not only a real attack, but also a cyber attack can be the reason for a NATO member to declare Article 5 collective self-defense. The main thing is to identify the organizer of the attack. If the organizer is unknown, you don't have enough data to declare a war on anyone unless you manufacture it yourself. In other words, we know that NATO, the Brits, America, has attacked Russia. NATO and American war machine parts, missiles and bullets and everything, have killed Russians on Russian territory. Now you may be saying, yeah, well, we sent money and we sent bullets over there to them. Yeah, well, it was sophisticated material that the Ukrainians aren't smart enough to aim or to pull the trigger. So we gave them the satellite aiming coordinates. We showed them how to pull the trigger on American equipment. So are we not Are we not to blame? Are we not at war? Yes, we are. Now, why is that important? Because Dmitry was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Started by the communists, some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, and two of the countries will attack and defeat America in 1 hour. Now, let me talk about that. You remember the other prophecy that Chris Reed was shown, that it will start in April, and it will be like some cataclysmic event before the end of 2024, and it's going to throw America into a tailspin, and she's not going to get out of it until July of 2025. My guess is we are probably, I said a guess, we are probably talking about an internal revolution starting probably the third or fourth quarter. Of course, I guess we just entered into the third quarter here. The third quarter, in other words, right now, people that love Trump really, really love him, and they're about to go to war over it. And then people that don't like Trump really, really, really don't like him. And so consequently, there's a divide in our nation like I've never seen. There are people on both sides ready to pick up arms. Both sides are angry at the other side like I've never seen. We could very well see an internal revolution in America this year. If anything happens to the election, if it doesn't take place, if there's cheating, if there is, let's say the Dems, let's say Trump wins, at least we think he wins, and then the Dems say, but we're not going to certify the election. Like Marco Rubio said, he found 12 to 13 Dems that said, even if Trump wins, we're still not going to certify the election. Something like that. See, there's an anger. We could see all of a sudden the good guys stand up and say, we've had enough. Trump is going to be in at the cost of blood. And all of a sudden there's blood. An internal revolution. Now, I remember when I first heard that back in February of 1988, I thought, no. I didn't see how that was going to. I don't know how many times I've said that to God. I don't see how there's going to be an internal revolution in America. But today I see. And I think you also see. It's also interesting that the angel came to Dmitry and said, you have 4 more years to carry Bibles. They will follow you step by step, but I'm going to be ahead and I'm going to blind the eyes of those people so they can't catch you. When they see they can't catch you, they're going to kick you out of your country. You're going to America to give them a warning from God. So that you know that I'm truly the angel of God, I'm going to tell you the year, month, day, and hour you will be exiled to America. July 22nd, 1984, 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, for 4 years I carry Bibles. I will pull up to the checkpoint. Dmitry, what do you have in the car? What do you do with all these books? Where are the Bibles? We know you have Bibles. They were tossing the Bibles around, but they couldn't see them. He said, finally the day came. We'd given away all of our earthly possessions, sitting in the front living room, all packed. The knock came to the door. Dmitry, you have to go. What are you doing with all these suitcases? Well, we knew you were coming. Dmitry, you have to come with us. They took him to the airport. Just as the plane was backing up, July 22nd, 1984, 10 o'clock in the morning. He arrived in America August the 3rd, 1984. The angel came to him, took and showed him California, Las Vegas, New York, and Florida. He said, all of this is Sodom and Gomorrah. In one day, it will burn. He said, how will it burn? America's so powerful. He said, it will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government and all the rest of that, you know. Now, why was the angel so specific that he had to go to America and arrive specifically August 3rd, 1984? If you move that date forward 40 years, that's August 3rd of 2024. Could it be that the internal revolution is going to start on about or around August? Could it be that 40 years later, is the start of the internal revolution? Well, it could be. And that fits with a lot of other prophecies. Now, I'm not saying the internal revolution starts in 2024, and I'm not saying that we'll see Omar ushers in Palestinian state this year. I'm not saying it's going to appear in the Jerusalem Post. But as watchmen, that's what we do. We watch. So we're watching. Would it fit the prophecies if all of that happened? Yep. Yep, it would. Now, the question then becomes, let's say the internal revolution does start this year, how long from internal revolution to a surprise nuclear attack that destroys America in 1 hour? Well, the correct answer is, I don't know. My guess is, I want to think it's not just a few months. I want to think it's more like several years, and I'll tell you why I say that. If we knew for certain that the tribulation started October the 5th, which is Day of Atonement in 2022. Okay, 2022, 23, 24. Okay, so if that's true, and I don't know that it's true, but there's 3 people that say it is. But if that's true, that would mean we have 5 years left of the tribulation. And since I believe, I can show you in the scriptures, as well as other prophecies, I believe that when the bombs come down from the Russians, we go up to the marriage supper of the Lamb. It's not a rapture, because at that point, most Christians are dead. And then after that is when the Antichrist comes out and says, kill all Christians. All of them, everything. Anyway, I'm getting off subject. My point is, we could very well see Omar ushers in Palestinian state, even though there's only, 11 days left for the counting of the Omer? And for the matter of fact, here's another thing. Even though the last day would be June 16th for the counting of the Omer, there's nothing that says that maybe even a week or 2 or maybe even a month later, they come back and say, well, the agreement was actually made on such and such date, was actually in the counting of the Omer, and the newspaper headline says Omer ushers in Palestinian state, even though it's past June 16th. So I don't know. But I'm saying I think we are at the door of a lot of prophecies coming to pass. Let me go on. So here's Hal Turner's snap analysis. Now this is from this article here. Okay, going on, continuing that. For over 2 years, NATO has goaded Russia, trying to get the Russians to attack over the ongoing NATO interference in Ukraine. Russia won't take their bait. Thank you, Russia. Instead, Russia is steadily destroying all the weapons and manpower in Ukraine that NATO and the U.S. is throwing at them. And I might say quite easily, too. NATO is hamstrung. They can't do any more for Ukraine, and Ukraine is now losing badly. They seem to have produced a nifty alternative of a cyber attack. They can attack their own countries in a massive and destructive cyber attack and blame it on Russia, and then invoke Article 5, a collective self-defense, to enter the Ukraine war, as they have been desperately trying to do for 2 years. A completely, totally false flag or cyber attack as their basis to blame Russia and enter World War III. These people, I think, are snakes. There is apparently no low that they will not stoop to cause another world war. See, when the deep state, I have to call them that, when they think they're losing power throughout history, one of the things they do is start a war. That keeps them in power. Now, let me refresh your memory to make the next point. Remember, Chris Reed was told by an angel standing in front of him, so goes Israel, so goes America. So goes Israel, so goes America. Now, look at this headline. Biden regime cuts off ammunition supplies to Israel. So, Israel's military gets hit, America's military will get hit. Israel out of ammo, America will be out of ammo. Israel surrounded by enemies, America is pretty much surrounded and now inside of our borders filled with enemies. So the world turns against Israel, world turns against America. Revolution in Israel, revolution in America. Whatever happens to Israel happens to us. The brewing storm of revolution is upon us. Patriots are angry. I talked about this. There was a time when I could never even consider bringing up the idea of a civil war in this great nation of ours. But now I fear we're closer to a revolution than we have been in over 100 years. I agree. Those on the right are more peaceful and tolerant than anyone on the left. But we've all seen this Trump trial anger the right. I mean, when Trump gets $200 million in donations the next 24 hours after he's convicted, after he's become a convicted felon, that's telling me that, I even talked to Leslie and she agrees, I think the Christians are starting to wake up. They're starting to get angry. Now, it's one thing when the devil's crowd gets angry, but it's another thing when the Christian crowd gets angry. And we're seeing the Christian crowd get angry. The radicals continue to push us to a point where I feel the great patriots of this nation may break and push back. I agree. Judge Juan Merchan, however you say it, in New York, imprisoning President Trump may just lead to our nation's breaking point, and I agree. So there's a lot of things about to happen, and I think that we're all running out of time to prepare. If you want your car to start when the suitcase nukes hit, and that's all part of it, we could see that hit before the end of the year too. One of these devices takes about 10 minutes to mount it on your car, 10 minutes to mount it in your house, and that way your car still starts, your computers still start. At least that's the plan. Go to EMPShield.com. The promo code PROPHECY gets you a $50 discount and it helps your Prophecy Club. Let me remind you, we have 34 prophecies that say suitcase nuke's going to hit. 17 say that there's going to be a meteor, tsunami, earthquake. 14 say a food shortage. 11 say dollar's going to fall. 7 a surprise nuclear attack. Get yourself ready. ProphecyClubGold.com, 1-800-200-GOLD. Say, Jesus, forgive my sins. Jesus, be my God. It's not all you need to do, but it's a step in the right direction. I've not talked about our books for a long time, so I'm going to take a minute and explain them. First of all, I think this is the very best book that I've ever written. And it's called The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, but it does not have the word rapture in it, does not discuss it. This is only talking about Bible prophecy. So the story is in 2017, I memorized the book of Revelation. I got 30 revelations, 2 visions, and an audible voice. God showed me the word first fruits is a secret door that links Revelation and the feasts, showing the correct chronological order of Revelation. One prophetic word says there is a lock that I put over a word in the book of Revelation. I'm going to open it to you, and it will turn many books written on the end-time message into obsolete books. That's this book. Then I next wrote Miss the Mark. And it's for anyone. It's simple. It's if they read 3 pages, they'll read the whole book. If they read the whole book, they will never take the mark of the beast. Also, this Tribulation Secrets in Daniel is just the most important parts of Daniel that someone living in a tribulation needs to know. These are the best prophecies from the last 32 years of studying and teaching Bible prophecy from Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldea, Leslie Johnson, Henry Groover, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more. Each set of these, in other words, this is a set of 10, a set of 10, a set of 5, a set of 10, a set of 5. It's a total of 40 books. You can get one set of each, 40 books, for a gift of $100 at prophecyclub.com. We also put together a Watchman's package, which contains 2 2-foot by 3-foot charts and my handwritten book of Revelation, 5 DVDs on the School of the Watchman, and 5 of the copies of Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, all you valued at $355 for a gift of $200. prophecyclub.com.